Hey guys, welcome to the PLOspectives episode 8, show where we explore unbeatable strategies within the great game of Pot Limit Omaha. Take one hand, go through the action, and see how each party should have played their hand and how they should construct their ranges. Here is a disclaimer, don't take my words for granted, every situation in PLO is different, so do your own research. Results and conclusions shown and made in this video are only true under these specific assumptions, stack sizes, reads and opponents, and rake structure. In today's episode, we're going to be looking at a hand that was sent by one of the viewers of the show. Shout out to Roman, the author of this hand. Here is the hand. MP opens, holding single suited ace, ace, jack 6. Cutoff 3 bets. Button folds, as well as the blind. And the action gets back on the hero, who decides to 4-bet. It's worth mentioning that we are sitting here at a 165-ish big blinds effective, something like that. So we 4-bet, get called, and we see a flop of 10-8-5 with flush draw. And we only have ace of spades as a blocker, but no real backup. And the question here is, are our aces good enough to pot and call it off, or should we be doing anything else? Should we check fold? Should we check raise? Or should we bet fold? Or should we bet call? Hero was lost and did not know what to do. And I think that's a very interesting spot, and would like to look closer at this board texture, being that deep. How do we play our hands, different hand classes? And also how should in position behave once it is checked to him or versus pot. And so let's dive right into it. For that I ran a simulation. In order to understand how to play this board better, we first want to understand what hand classes make up our range on this board and how to play them, as well as what are those hand classes weighted frequency in our range, which means how often we are going to find ourselves in this spot holding specific hand class. We're going to start with sets, but first of all, it is worth mentioning that if we take a look at the equity graph, you can see that button will have polarity advantage here. That makes a lot of sense because this board actually fits range of the alt color over 4-bet, and so we cannot blindly c-bet all our aces here, and I think we should be more picky. But let's discover how our range is constructed here. So we're gonna start with sets. I'm gonna say 10s, 8s, and 5s. And first of all, I want to pull your attention that we only have sets here, or sets make up only 1% of our whole range. And without exception, we're gonna play them all through a check. We check obviously to check raise all of our sets pretty much. That's easy to remember. And that's not a very frequent hand class that we're gonna have in our range, so not gonna spend much time on it. Let's go further and say look how we play two pairs. 10-8, 8-5, and 10-5. So two pairs make up 8% of our range. And we pot the ones that have either a gut shot or a backdoor flush draw or any better backup. Or check. And once we check to only pretty much check, raise, and get the money in. There is some calling, but not frequent, and these are like the top two pairs with the most backup and most blockers, pretty much. They can be considered a slow plays. So what else do we have here? Definitely have over pairs. Let's see about aces. So this is really interesting that aces make up over 75% of our total range, which is enormous portion of our range, and therefore it is crucial to understand how to correctly play them. First of all, we need to remember that we never bet small. You can see there is a 50% pot size option given, but solver doesn't use it. Kind of makes sense. So we either pot or check. And I think to understand how to play aces more effectively, we're gonna break down our aces into some additional backup or side cards. And we're gonna start with aces with flush draw. So aces with flush draw, we pot 13% and check 86. Once we check, it is only to check raise all in versus any size, pretty much. You can see there's 1 or 2% calling, but that doesn't really matter. We can just pretty much check raise all our aces. There's some potting with aces. There is no clear pattern that I found. It is always the nut flush draw, as well as the ace of diamonds. But if we separate to, if we say ace of spades that also has ace of diamonds, you can see that main play is still checking here. So I don't know how to describe that that part of the range that prefers potting. But we're just gonna keep in mind that there is some potting, but main play is to check and check raise all our aces with flush draw. Oops. Next are aces with gutters. Straight draw. We say aces that have 4-6, 4-7, 6-9, Jack-7, Queen-9. These are all gutters on this board, right? And that don't have a flush draw, because we already analyzed how we play flush draws. And so it's 50-50. We pot with a spade and at least one diamond and check the rest. It's like the easiest way to remember it. So aces plus gutter, we need at least one diamond and a spade to be potting them, otherwise we check. And if we check and face a bet, you can see that we're gonna mostly check call. We're gonna fold some of the worst ones, like the absolute lowest gut shots without any kind of backup. There's a bunch of calling, and there is some check raising. I'd say we check raise with a spade. Yeah, mostly. With the spade and the backdoor flush, these are the main criteria to be check raising aces and the gutter here. So quite easy to remember. Next up, we're gonna look at aces with open enders. And those would be 6, 7, 7, 9, and Jack 9, right? Jack 9. Yeah, we pretty much check them all. These are considered to be very strong. We check, and I assume we're gonna be check raising them all. Yeah, that's what happens. Because we have to check a lot on this board, we kind of want to protect our chicken range by having a lot of those strong aces with flush draws and aces with open enders in our chicken range, and then we check raise them. Because also once we check in position should be, I'm gonna remove this filter for a moment. If we take a look at in position strategy, which we're gonna actually look in very soon into, in position should be doing a ton of betting. If you count it up, was it 50 and 35? It's like 85% betting. So like very close to entire range, stabbing in position, attacking this board, which does not really fit out of position for betting range, which makes a lot of sense. And because in position has to play so aggressively, out of position has to protect his checking range, otherwise he will be too vulnerable. And so all those aces with flush draws, aces with straight draws mostly go into our check raising category. Back to the out of position, given the filter. Yeah, as we said, check and versus any type of step, either half pot or pot size. We're gonna actually versus pot size, there's much more calling. It might be because we kind of want to see a non-spade in turn, and I suppose we just want to get that equity shift before, or see that safe turn before stacking off. But we're gonna check raise with a spade, and we check call without a spade. That's versus half pot, versus full pot. Versus half pot, we pretty much check raise all our aces with the open ender. I've filtered out all the rest aces that we haven't covered yet, and we can see that we pot 11%. We pot here with combinations like ace ace jack 10, ace ace jack 8, ace ace 10 9, ace ace 9 8. Those are the most frequent ones, and they mostly come with backdoor flush draw, because these combos block villains continuing range in the best way, so we have a lot of immediate fold equity here. When we check and face a 50% stab, we are going to fold almost all of our aces. So all the rest aces that don't have a flush draw, don't have a gutter, don't have an open ender, and don't have those best blockers and immediate fold equity by blocking top pair and one of the straight draw blockers, those are mostly going to check fold here on this board, even versus a small size. There is only 1% check raising and 5% check calling. with some backdoor flush draw. Alright, I think that's pretty much it for the out of position strategy. Now let's take a look at how in position should play. As we covered already, in position should be doing a lot of stabbing here when he faces a check, because that's a board that is favorable, more favorable for his range and not the out of position. And we're also gonna split his range into different hand classes. We're gonna start with sets, 10s, 8s, and 5s. Also, a tiny portion of his range make up only 1% of hands in the entire range, and all sets play by betting 50%. Very strong combo. We want our opponent to continue wider, or maybe I don't know how much we are into inducing, but anyways, we bet small with all of our sets pretty much. I don't think we should be finding that 10% pot in here. Like, it's not that relevant. We can just simplify it. It is more implementable. And the fact that these hands don't occur that frequency in this spot means that we shouldn't be debating a ton about it, whether we should have that 10% pot in range or not. And then we're gonna look at two pairs like 10-8, 8-5, 10-5 that don't have 10-10, 8-8, 5-5. So all two pairs that don't have sets. And I think the key to understand that, if we have ace of spades, I mean, if we have the nut flush draw here, then we are always going to just pot it. Any two pairs with the nut flush draw, just pot and stack off. If we have a flush draw without the ace of spades, so we have any other type of flush draw, then we are going to bet small pretty much with all of those hands. You can see 83 versus 17, but again, I mean, once we bet small and face a check raise, we obviously never gonna fold it. It is we bet small to have our opponent slightly wider range. So this is also very easy to remember. Two pairs with nut flush draw with pot, two pairs with any other type of flush draw, we bet small. Easy. Let's take the next category, which is going to be overpairs. So aces, kings, queens, and jacks. There we go. Now we are in the right place. And I think we're going to filter out once again by to differentiate the overpairs that do have nut flush draw and the ones that have just flush draw. The main overpair to be pot in with the nut flush draw is aces, because in position does not 5-bet all of their aces. So overpairs with the flush draw that don't have the nut flush draw mostly pot, but those also come with more backup in form of gut shot or better. You can see here on the right side, Jack Jack 8-9, Queen Queen 8-9, Queen Queen 10-9, King King 9-9. Doesn't really have a gut shot, but have second nut front door flush draw, which is good enough to be stacking off. Jack Jack 9-9, so it's overpair with an open ender with Jack high flush draw. A lot of backup. Ace, king, king, deuce with front draw and the backdoor flush draw. All those hands gonna pot and stack off. Alright, that's also pretty much clear. What else? We looked at the overpairs. Let's now look at the flush draw itself. How do we play flush draw that don't have any of the previous categories? You can see a lot of pot in here with the nut flush draw. So nut flush. Wait. Let's look at how the nut flush draw plays first. So the nut flush draw is going to pot 85%. Almost all of our nut flush draws are going to pot and stack off. What about other flush draws? Other flush draws also prefer potting, but the ones with better playability can allow betting smaller. Okay, so hands like 6, 7, 8 king has a board pair, open-ender, flush draw, and the backdoor flush draw. So these have really good playability. And like king jack 7, 9, also with the front door as well as backdoor flush draw. Those type of hands can allow to bet small. Otherwise, we're just gonna pot. Okay, that's also pretty much clear. What else? We looked at the flush draws. Let's take a look at straight draws. And we're gonna start with wraps. So I say Queen Jack 9. We're gonna group them Queen Jack 9, Jack 9 7, 9 7 6, and 7 6 4. Those are all wraps. A lot of pot in here. So 73% potting with wraps, and the clearest pattern that I can see, and that is easy to remember, wraps pot without board pair and bet 50 with a board pair. So a hand like Jack 9 8 7 as a wrap, but also as a middle pair is going to bet 50%. 9 7 6 5 also has a wrap, but this time bottom pair. Also going to bet small. Jack 10 9 7 top pair with the very good wrap, betting 50. Have a lot of playability. And all the rest wraps are going to pot. Of course, none of these wraps we never fold in any of these wraps. If we bet, then we always bet to stack off, no matter bet with 50 or we bet full pot. I think it's clear. Alright, I think it's a good way to remember to differentiate which wraps to pot and which wraps to bet small. Let's take a look at open-enders. And I say Jack 9s, 9 7s, 6 7s. I think that's it, right? Jack 9, 9 7, 6 7. That don't have any of the previous categories. So open-enders mostly pot in once again and mixing in some smaller sizing bets at 20% frequency. Also always stacking off versus check raise. None of these open-enders are going to bet fold. What if I filter out to the open-enders that have a board pair, let's say 10, 8 or a 5? Yeah, so open-enders with a board pair, I think that's the easiest way to remember, are going to pot. 70% potting, 20% betting small. And if I say that we don't have a board pair, then we're gonna see a lot of checking. And let's take a look at the gut shots. I'm gonna say we have 4-6, 4-7, 6-9, Jack 7 and Queen 9. So it seems like gut shots that also have board pair and the backdoor flush draws are always going to play for stacks. Let's see a hand like Queen 10 9 6 with the backdoor flush draw. King 6 5 4. A lot of similar hands. Yeah, they all have in common that they all have backdoor flush draw, gutter, and the board pair are all in the potting column. Then we have 25% betting small. And versus check raise, we only fold combos that don't have a board pair. I think that's also kind of easy to remember. Pretty interesting. Pretty interesting strategy. Just looking if if there are some more takeaways from here. No, I don't see him right now. Alright, that was an interesting hand. We've learned a lot. Now let's see how the hand played out. So hero decides to pot. Wait a moment, we haven't checked how this hand should have played. Let's take a look at the actual hand itself. So ace, ace, jack 6 for the out of position. With the backdoor flush draw should be pot. Without the backdoor flush draw should be a check and then check fold. Yeah. That's how it is supposed to be. Anyways, hero decides to pot. Cutoff goes all in. Hero calls. Turn is a king, river is a king, and opponent shows very loose stack off with queen, queen, 10 deuce. Let's see. So if out of position pots and in position has queen, queen, 10 deuce, then hand shouldn't even be in the in positions called calling over 4-bet range. So that was first of all very loose pre-flop, and second of all even looser on the flop. Well played for hero, large spot. Alright, that was a very interesting hand. If you want your interesting hand to be analyzed here in PLOspectives, send me a message on Discord, find my tag in the description, and I will pick the most interesting ones. If you like this type of content, which I assume you do because you're still watching this episode, then please hit that like button or share it with one of your fellow PLO grinders. That will motivate me to deliver content that you like on a regular basis. That's going to be it for this episode. Thank you for watching. I'm your PLO Bull Flare Race. Stay unbeatable. See you at the tables. Take care, guys. Bye bye.